Welcome to Get to the Hook. I am your co-host, Charles Latibeaudiere.
And I'm your co-host, Eric Colley.
And I am just champing at the bit. I know some people are going to say it's chomping. Champing is what it really is. Either way, because Billboard dropped their top 10 of they've been rolling out the top 75 R&B acts. And the top 10...
I got some feels.
I got some feels.
We should say, this is not based on commercial stuff, because usually Billboard, It's like most successful. This is their staff,
right?
Yes.
And I don't know anything about I was looking for something in the article about like the cross section of their staff. How old are they? What they tend to listen to, and look, I'm not. There are things that they do in all these lists, and everybody should know this by now. Anytime a magazine comes out with their top whatever of whatever, there are definitely people they put in there and rank a certain way just to
get us talking about it, and that's what we're doing.
Right.
So mission accomplished.
And so mission accomplished. Well done, Billboard. And I will say most of the list I can't argue with, but yeah.
So
we'll get to
it's not so much the names, it's the order they're in.
Yes, exactly. I think they got over the top 75. I think they got everybody in there. There wasn't anyone I was like, they don't belong in there. There
was no glaring omission that really jumped out. Like, where is this person? Like, there's other people you could have put in.
Right.
But we should
just
say
the disrespect to people like, Otis Redding, disrespect to people like Lauryn Hill, disrespect to people like Jackie Wilson. I just felt like, anyway.
Okay, so we should say it is also solo artists. No groups, so no Temptations, Supremes, Earth, Wind & Fire, Boyz II Men, TLC, no groups.
Right.
This is just solo acts. And it's, as you would expect, it's going to skew older because these are the legends of R&B music. I think 6 of the top 10 are dead. But there were some
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But there were some
when you look
acts.
at like the rock and roll, when you look at that's more of them are dead.
Yeah.
Or no longer performing because too many members are dead.
Right.
So kudos.
Yeah, there's some living legends on this list. Some of the younger artists who made it, and this is usually where the controversy comes in for a lot of people because they think, I never heard of this person. How did they make the list? These are all cool. Summer Walker, number 74. She's a newer R&B singer and has been incredibly successful and just connected with audiences. She is R&B. I mean, she does her personal life and gets her story out in her songs, and it connects with people. Her was number 70. The singer Her.
Yeah.
Always sounds weird to say.
Yes, I thought that was brilliant that she made the list because she should.
She's very talented
as
a musician, as a songwriter.
Incredibly talented.
The Weeknd, number 47.
I thought that he would be one of the new ones that they would put higher to get people going like
number 5.
Yeah, exactly. I was waiting for that. So when I saw him there, I was like, you know what? That's proper.
Even of current people having huge hits, he's not the highest. Number 44, SZA made the list. And I got no problems with that.
Nope.
Honestly, if they had put her a little bit higher, I don't think it would have been outrageous. I think she is the A-list R&B star of her generation. And if you're an old person who doesn't listen to a lot of SZA, also I want to mention Billboard conveniently for me for picking songs. For each entry on the list, they put their must-listen song.
Yeah.
So we're going to go with what Billboard shows. I don't know that I would have picked this.
I actually found myself looking at not so much. I was like, all right, I could see this person being on the list, but then I looked at what they said was the must-listen, and I was like, come on, now you got that wrong.
That ain't the one. That ain't the one.
For
SZA, they picked her song Love Galore. Sounds like this.
Why you bother me when you know you don't want me? Why you bother me when you know you got a woman? Why you hit me when you know better?
And fun fact for SZA fans, her most recent album, SOS, is the longest-running top 10 ever by a solo female artist. Been in the top 10 for like 2 years.
The album's been in the top 10 for 2
years. Yeah.
Wow, good for her.
Yeah, very successful.
For SZA, not her. Her is a different.
Oh, yeah, hers a different. I think definitely in decades to come, SZA will be the artist of this moment in time.
Right.
I think she will always be on this list or go higher.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the token Caucasian. I gotta make a shout out to the one white artist.
I think there should be an asterisk next to this, though, when you say the token Caucasian.
The token Caucasian is Tina Marie.
who most people think is black anyway. So
A lot of people still think that.
right.
Her biggest pop crossover hit was the song Lover Girl, hit the top 5 in 1985. That is not the must-listen song Billboard went with. They went with her 1984 song Out on a Limb.
I'm giving in to you again.
I would have picked Fire and Desire with Rick James.
Mm-hmm.
That song, she just vocally destroys that. Rick James, by the way, was number 51 on the list. Tina Marie, the only white act, I think she definitely earns that space because she was never a pop artist who dabbled in R&B or someone who tried
She
to
was
cross over.
always squarely
She was
in.
always square biz. Yeah, she was all
which
about
is
the square biz.
By the way, that's the one I would have picked. A square.
Would have picked square biz.
Yeah.
I was trying to think what other white R&B artists like. There are people that R&B fans tend to like Hall & Oates or Michael McDonald or Bobby Caldwell, but they're not R&B.
But they're not
artists.
R&B. Oh,
I would say
Bobby Caldwell was close.
that one
but
song. John
but most
B,
of his
John B
songs
was the
are
white
kinda
guy
R&B.
for the 90s. Robin Thicke was an R&B artist until Blurred Lines blew everything up.
Mhm.
But his early stuff was all. There's not a ton of
no.
white R&B artists.
Yeah.
But Tina Marie's one that she was legit.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go through the top 10, but first, let's just run down some of the artists who didn't make the top 10.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're talking like 30 through 11, there
Yes.
were a bunch of people that I thought, how is this person not? And it made me and I guess that's the reason you do that. Like, you want some real legends in there, in that 30, in the teens, in the 20s, because then it just, as you're going through it, makes you go like, oh my God, well, who's going to be in the top
who
10?
could be? And this was all based on talent, on impact, legacy, and I just number 31 was Anita Baker. I know you love Anita Baker.
I actually was very happy that she was that high.
Yeah,
I would have been.
she was right above Lionel Richie, which
I would have burned down the whole list if she wasn't on it at all.
oh, she's gonna be on it.
But being in the top 40, I'm with that. Yeah.
Diana Ross, number 29,
Mhm.
but that's not counting
Which-
the Supremes.
Which, by the way, when I saw that, I thought, all right, Anita at 31. If they're putting Diana at 29, okay, well, that's good for Anita.
Okay. Chris Brown,
And
number
I felt
26.
like Diana could have been a little bit higher, though.
She could have been a little bit higher. She's Diana Ross.
Right.
She is a legend. Chris Brown, number 26, ahead of Diana Ross. He is the
Okay,
R&B
he
dude of
is.
his generation.
He is.
One of my favorites, Teddy Pendergrass, number 23. I love Teddy.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that was
Luther Vandross, 22. Luther not in the
that
top
was
20?
wrong. That was wrong.
What?
That was wrong. He's got to be like 12, maybe 4. He's got to be in
Not
the top 15.
10. He's got to be right
got to
outside.
be in the top 15, and that was disrespect.
Otis Redding, number 20. I guess because he died so young.
I'm gonna try not
But
to.
but he's Otis Redding. That man's voice will make
Right,
you cry.
Right, and that's the
These
part
arms
that,
of
to me
mine
that
just
went
go-
like, I get it. He didn't have a deep catalog, but man, every single song that he recorded, and that voice, and I get it. It wasn't just based purely on the person's voice on
Right.
this.
Because we're going to see some people
Artist.
ahead of Otis Redding and Luther Vandross and Teddy Pendergrass that are not better singers.
Right. It's clear that this overall entertainment value was a big
Yeah.
part of this as well.
Smokey Robinson, number 19. Incredible voice, incredible songwriter. What a legacy, what a catalog.
Yeah.
Al Green, 18. I mean, it's Al Green. Janet Jackson, number 17. Now, Janet
Okay.
is not a better singer
No, and that's where I
than
felt
lots of these
like
people.
when it became
But she's
clear
Janet Jackson.
she's Janet Jackson. I wouldn't. Again, I went into this thinking more about the voice, and then as I'm going through and I see Janet Jackson at 17, I go, all right, this is also just about overall entertainment and also just hits, right? And the
Hits.
number of
Yeah.
hits. So
16,
you got to give that props.
16, Mary J. Blige, who I love, the queen of hip hop soul,
Mhm.
definitely the R&B voice of her generation. I don't know that I would put Mary J. Blige ahead of Luther Vandross.
I definitely
just-
would not. I would put her in the top 30.
I've got my bias. Like I said, I love Mary, but I don't think I could.
I would put her
ahead.
squarely in the top 30
Sure.
easily, but I thought that was a little high.
13, Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke can't make the top 10. Usher, number 12. Again,
You got to give him, yeah.
as a vocalist, as an entertainer, as someone with an impactful, enduring career.
By the way, if you're keeping track at home, keeping score, this is one of those moments that they tried to like razz you, that they had that they would do Usher just ahead of an absolute legend like Sam Cooke. And I'm not saying Usher isn't a legend. Again, we talk about the living legends who are on this list. You can put Usher in that. But Sam Cooke, man, come on.
Like Sam Cooke's like the definition of R&B. Number 11, Ray Charles. Ray knocking outside the door to the top 10. Couldn't make it.
Okay, but you put him right outside the top 10, so I'm
Right
not gonna complain about that.
So let's get to the top 10.
By the way,
number
Ray
10.
Charles, Usher, Sam Cooke.
But then we're going to go through this top
Props to
10,
Usher.
and we're
All
going to
right.
see who would you put out of the top 10 to move one of these people in. And it gets tough.
Yeah.
Although number 10, as soon as I saw this, I thought this would be 2 or 3. I don't know how this was number 10. Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
When I think of R&B, it is Marvin Gaye.
I would. Marvin's always got to be in my top 5.
The voice, the songs,
By the way, I'm going to tell you as soon as when we get through the list here, a fun game that you can play at home. It's just I've been doing this for a few years as like a conversation piece at dinners, and this list plays right into that. We'll give you the rules in
Okay.
just a moment. All right.
All right. Number 9. This is one of the controversial ones for lots of reasons, but maybe not as controversial as it seems. Number 9 on their list, R. Kelly. And their must-listen song. Let's play a little bit because if you've been trying to boycott him, you probably haven't heard some in a little bit, but you definitely know
the
this song.
boycott that is not a boycott.
Yeah.
We all know this.
This was their must-listen song, I Believe I Can Fly.
I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day.
Not the song I would have picked.
No.
But,
But I get
but I
why
get
that's
it.
a song you pick. And no one's going to argue with R. Kelly's voice. And take away, clearly they weren't taking extracurricular stuff on any of these artists.
Right.
That's not part of what they were measuring here. Here's what I don't get with R. Kelly. I just don't think his voice is that much ahead of even the 3 people we just mentioned.
But the thing R. Kelly has,
Usher
and they mentioned
and
this in the
Sam
article,
Cooke.
because like you said, they were like, there's no getting around who he is, the
Mhm.
fact that he's in prison for the next 30 years. But you can't,
They're talking about his production.
his songwriting, his
Mhm.
producing, all the artists he wrote hits for, Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
all the artists he gave careers to, like Changing Faces, brought Aaliyah on the scene. Aaliyah was number 40 on this list. And R. Kelly was basically the R&B genre in the 90s and into the 2000s. As an artist, he
And then
was
I would
top
say,
tier as a
and that's
producer,
that's
songwriter.
fine. But then if you're going to say all that, then you've got to. I'm not saying you got to put him ahead, but then you have to put Smokey in the top 10 because Motown
right?
for many years was Smokey Robinson, and Smokey Robinson was Motown. So if we're just disrespecting Motown, then fine. That's what you want to do, Billboard.
But there's
You can
so
live with
much.
that,
There are several Motown artists in the top 10. You don't want it to be just the Motown top 10. I think they were trying to
Fine.
avoid.
But my point is, where was Smokey?
Smokey was number 19.
Then you got to move him to like 12, 11, something like that. If we're really just if we're going to put so much weight in songwriting and production as well as your actual songs that you did, you got to move Smokey up.
It's Smokey. Smokey wrote all those
But
Motown hits.
but to answer your question, yeah, R. Kelly's one I would take out out of the top 10. He would be obviously he's top 20, but
I would say he is their nod to the 90s to try and include that era, the 90s into the 2000s. Except at number 8, you have Mariah Carey. And I think a lot of people might have thought she'd be higher just purely based on the voice and the number of hits. And as a songwriter, which she does not always get the credit that she deserves for
Right.
that. But then I've had this argument. There's a couple artists in this top 10 that I've had this argument with people. Are they an R&B artist? A lot of people think of Mariah as a pop artist.
yeah.
She is very R&B. The
and I-
must-listen song they put was her song "Breakdown" with Bone Thugs and Harmony, which is just a straight R&B song.
Yeah, I don't know that and maybe that's what keeps her at as high or as low as 8.
Right.
Is that a lot of people would think that she's just pop. But
She's
there's
definitely
someone
not.
ahead of her who also gets that same knock.
The person right ahead of her, number 7. I've had this argument with people. Prince. They put Prince at number 7. They put as the must-listen song. This was a
What
dumb
was
choice.
wait, I didn't even see what that
I Want to
was.
Be Your Lover, which is a great song. It was his first number 1 in the R&B chart. But if I'm thinking Prince and R&B, Adore is definitely the way you go.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
the quintessential Quiet Storm song of the 80s.
Doo-doo-dum. That was your wedding song, wasn't
Some of
it?
the lyrics of that were in my
Uh-huh.
my wedding ceremony.
All
Yep.
right.
Yeah, so Prince number 7, and maybe he gets knocked down a bit by being more than just R&B. He was rock and pop and funk, and he
Yes.
did jazz and dabbled in
Listen,
all kinds of things.
I'll be honest. Even if I would put him in my top 10, but I would understand if he wasn't in the top 10 for all those reasons that you just
Right.
mentioned. And so,
But then if you do look at his history with R&B on R&B radio, on the R&B charts with black audiences, there are very few other artists in this list that can mess with that catalog.
right.
Just the classics.
I agree. I think
But
it's there, but I wouldn't have been
7.
shocked if they had him in the top like 15 and not.
Right.
I wouldn't have been shocked, but I'm pleasantly pleased.
I'm just ahead of
That's
Prince
redundant.
is someone who should be, because without this guy, there is no Prince. James Brown.
It's weird to
number
me
6.
to have them to put those two back to back. I thought that was weird.
What, you thought James should be higher
James
or more distance between them?
yeah, because they're like, you're right. I mean, there is no Prince without James Brown, and they're just very similar in performance style. It just seemed too derivative to put them right next to each other.
Yeah, but
Which
James
is why
Brown. Honestly, James seems a little bit low to me. I've made it gone top 5 because the man basically invented funk music.
Invented funk and has maybe of the top 10 the most unique voice.
Yeah, it's not a smooth, beautiful
Yes.
voice like some of the other artists. The song they chose for him, and this is one we're going to listen to a little bit of, is "Get Up, Get Into It, Get Involved."
Everybody over there, get on up. Everybody right there, get into it. Everybody over here, get involved, get involved, get involved.
And I would say
There's
his voice
nothing
is
about-
great because it's not a Smokey Robinson voice. It's
Right.
not even like a smooth, gruff voice like Otis Redding or Teddy Pendergrass, but it is emotion and soul. There
Yeah.
is so much power in his
Mhm.
voice and so much feeling, and that's what R&B is. I think is
Yeah.
expressing
I
emotion.
mean, he captured everything that if, as they say, if aliens came down, which they never will, of course, because we know they don't exist.
If they did, some of the people on this
But
list
if
are
they-
one of them. So
But if they did, and you want to say, what is this R&B all about? You hear James Brown's voice. I mean,
because you got, it's a man's world. You got Say It
everything.
Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, The Payback. It's funk, it's
Payback.
soul, it's blues, it's everything. And it influenced everybody that came after it.
Yeah. Hmm.
Including one of the people that's ahead of it.
6, which, okay, makes the top 5
Getting real competitive.
controversial.
Number 5. This is another one, like Mariah, like Prince. People are saying, was she really R&B?
That was-
But how do you not put this voice on the list? Number 5, Whitney Houston. The song they chose, I Have Nothing.
I have nothing if I don't have you.
I mean, her influence.
I don't know
on
if that's a song I
everyone.
would have picked.
I wouldn't have picked
I
that
get-
song.
It's not.
I like
it's
that
not-
song.
Yeah,
All right. But
they clearly picked a song that was, they felt, I guess, further from her pop stuff. But I don't know.
yeah. But
Whitney, there's no way you can't. You have to have her in the top 10. You have to have her probably in the top 5. The
Right.
voice, you can't F with that.
she influenced the way an
That's-
entire generation sang.
Mm-hmm.
The melisma and the runs and the soaring notes and all that. She made that a thing. And
She
also
deserves
had
her spot.
an incredible voice.
Yeah.
There was no one who could sing like Whitney Houston. Yeah, she had a lot of pop appeal, certainly, but I don't think any R&B fans would be mad about Whitney Houston being in the top 5 best R&B artists.
No, you couldn't be. You just couldn't be. Even if you were one of those people in her heyday who was like, she's selling out and it's too pop and all that. It's been long enough that you've had enough time to sit with her catalog and go, this voice is undeniable. So
Yeah.
just shut up with the she's pop thing. Right.
Number 4 probably made some people mad too, because for
Mhm.
some reason everything she does makes people mad. They put Beyonce at number 4.
I felt like they missed the boat here. They really wanted to be controversial. Put her higher. She should have been lower.
Yeah,
She should have been lower. And honestly, at this stage, I don't think she deserves to be 4. I just don't. Beehive can come for me. I'm just going to say it. She clearly belongs on a list. She's easily, well, maybe not easily.
what? Oh! Oh, you're just really kicking the beehive. Go ahead, say it. What are you saying?
All right, here I'm just going to be honest. What I wanted to say, but I was afraid to.
The
I was
views of
chickened
Charles
out.
reflect only Charles's opinion.
Was
by the way.
top 20. That she's easily top 20. But I'll say top 15.
You were going to put Beyonce out of the top 20.
I didn't say that, Eric.
Oh,
what are you?
that's
no.
definitely what you were
No. I did not
wow.
say I was putting Beyonce.
Like, I
out of
can't
the
believe
top
she
20.
made this list at all. She'd be like number 85.
I just all the reasons that Whitney belongs at 5 and maybe even higher, I don't think Beyonce's voice
You're
is
saying Whitney's a better singer than Beyonce.
yes.
And that's fine.
And you're right. Look, part of this is just entertainment.
And cultural impact as
yes.
and this pains me to say this as somebody that grew up with Whitney Houston. And
Cultural impact, yes.
Beyonce is the defining
because
artist
no one's
of this
ever
century.
right, because no one's ever questioned Beyonce's R&B-ness.
No,
right?
no.
No one's ever questioned her as a soul R&B performer. And you're right about the cultural impact. And certainly, I would say she's a better performer, live performer than Whitney.
Well, Whitney was never much of a dancer or
Right.
entertainer in that
Right.
sense.
In the
That
same
wasn't
way
the thing.
Mariah
Yeah.
isn't either. So, yeah, when you look at the overall picture, I guess yes.
Because we're still in the
Beyonce-
middle of it. That story's not over yet. And I think there's a bit of a backlash because you're so tired of her just always getting accolades
everything.
and being told she's so great. But whether you love her or hate her, whether you love that she's this high, I think she should have been higher, whether you think she's a joke and shouldn't be, you have an opinion.
I never said joke.
No, I'm not
I
saying
never
you
said
said
joke.
that.
Okay.
But we know there's lots of Beyonce haters for
And you know
lots
what?
of reasons. But whatever, you have a strong opinion about her. Everybody does. There's so many of these artists on this list who are incredible musicians who had great legacies. And if you say the name, a lot of people would go, who? Or they just like, oh yeah, I like some of their songs.
Yeah.
They don't have a passionate response to certain names. Beyonce created that passion. And she did it through art. It wasn't like she just did cheap gimmicks to get attention. She was not a troll in that sense.
Right.
She, her last few albums, she kind of abandoned mainstream success as far as
Totally.
radio
Yes.
hits, even though she still has success.
Mm-hmm.
She makes statement albums and artistic statements and the history of Black artists and the role of
Okay, you've convinced me. All right.
country and
11.
house music.
11. 11. I put her at 11.
So who do you sneak in? Ray Charles? Sam Cooke? Smokey?
Sam Cooke.
Sam Cooke. Sam
I'd
Cooke?
put Sam Cooke. Yeah, Sam Cooke
Okay.
and
Okay.
Beyonce
the top 3.
just outside.
The top 3 are great. I'm not always sure about the order here. Number 3.
This was clear once I got to like 6 what the top 3 was going to be.
Yeah. Number 1 was still kind of a surprise to me. Number 3, Michael Jackson. The song they picked was Remember the Time, which is a great song.
Definitely an
You could pick any.
Yeah.
People could maybe argue they think he should be number 1. And I know he was the king of pop, but Michael's R&B cred is
there's
unquestionable.
yeah, there's a reason why he wasn't number 1, but 3 works. 3 definitely works.
Yeah. Like even when he did rock things like Beat It with Eddie Van Halen or Dirty Diana and
It's
those
still
things, it was more like him bringing rock to R&B
correct.
than just
And
leaving R&B to go rock. And he's Michael Jackson.
he's
Michael Jackson. He's number 3.
Yeah, no one's going to say anything about that.
No.
That's it.
Number 2, as soon as I heard this list, when they started counting it down, I assumed this was going to be number 1, Aretha Franklin.
She's been number 1 on a lot of other lists.
And
so why not this one?
rightfully so.
Yeah.
One of the greatest voices in human history.
Absolutely. There's-
Deep catalog, a career that spanned. I mean, she was having hits up until the late 90s.
Right.
Like
And-
legit produced by Lauryn Hill hits.
Yeah. Aretha doesn't need anybody to say you deserve this, but she's could have been number 1. You're right.
I
Could
thought
have
she would
easily
be.
been number 1.
The song they picked, by the way, for her, Respect, which is the obvious one. But for an R&B list, I mean, yeah, I guess. And that song written by Otis Redding. But I would think Natural Woman or Call Me or there's so many great R&B songs Aretha has.
Yeah.
And you would pick, I knew you were waiting for me with George Michael.
No. I would pick Rocksteady.
Oh, Rocksteady.
Rocksteady.
That's
Yeah.
second that song starts, once the needle drops.
But
it's a
also,
jam.
and I know she didn't write it, but Natural Woman is when you hear her sing that, even do yourself a favor if you haven't seen it in a while. Go back and watch her singing "Natural Woman" at the Kennedy Center Honors for Carole King, where everyone has a tear in their eye as she's singing the song, and she does the whole thing with the fur coat, and the fur coat comes off in the middle of the song, and you're just everyone's going, "Oh my God!"
And people forget what an amazing piano player she was. Well, some people forget.
An amazing piano player, and even though she's not of the era of move around the stage and do all kinds of she got around. She got around the stage,
she was a
man.
presence on stage. She was one of the most charismatic performers in history. So number one, their greatest R&B artist of all time. Well, once you know Aretha's number two, then clearly Stevie Wonder is number one. And they did go more R&B-ish. They could have gone with one of the obvious bigger hits for their must-listen song, and they chose this one, As.
I'll be loving you always. Until the rainbow burns the stars in the sky. Always. Until the ocean covers every.
It hurts cutting that to a 10-second soundbite. That song is just over 7 minutes long. And it's
every time I will sit and listen to it.
All 7.
The entire song. And by the way, the breakdown, if you've ever seen, I'm sure you've seen the breakdowns of the tracks on that, which, because he recorded all of it himself, played all the instruments, and you hear the breakdown of each instrument. It is genius.
The layers of things in that song.
Absolute musical genius.
And that's
which is why he belongs.
You could throw a dart at his catalog, and anything you hit would have been a good song to put as a must-listen song.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I both love Stevie. We make no secret of that. I guess my first thought was Aretha Franklin when I think R&B and Otis Redding and those people. But Stevie, certainly R&B. For all the pop success he had, was never anything but an R&B artist.
His song, that whole album is a blueprint for R&B.
Songs in the Key of Life is everything you need. He's a writer, producer, singer, musician. There's nothing he can't do.
The do-it-all, one-stop shop.
Right. So Stevie being number one, I would have, clearly he's top 3 no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, you could have reordered the top 3 if you want to. Take your it's user's choice. Whatever you feel, you could shift those top 3 around, and nobody's going to argue too much.
Right.
But I need to know who you would take out of the top 10. I boldly said Beyonce. I also think R. Kelly should not be in the top 10. But
it's because you and I have such a love of the history of all these genres.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to think of the older acts, not just the ones I grew up with, but even further back. Like I thought Otis Redding, Sam Cooke, Smokey, of course they're going to be top 10. They are those people. Like Etta James was number 73. Seems a bit too low for Etta James, but but I see they're trying to represent different generations with this top 10. Who would I kick out? Oof. Well, first, I would definitely Marvin Gaye moves up.
You'd move him up in the top 10.
He is top 5 for sure. Right. Maybe 3 or 4.
Well, you won't kick one out, will you?
I don't know. I would say R. Kelly. But he was that guy for 20 years.
He was that guy.
And he influenced so much of what came after.
If you want to talk about his performer, honestly, switch R. Kelly and Usher. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But Usher...
That's fine. I know Usher's not the writer, but what he doesn't write, he makes up for in performing, right? As a performer, no one's arguing that R. Kelly approaches
Chris
Usher.
Brown and Usher blow R. Kelly away as a performer.
Right.
R. Kelly was not a dancer, not a performer like that. I don't know. And then I think, after I just made the argument that Mariah Carey's R&B, but when I think of those legendary R&B singers, I don't necessarily think of her right away.
Yeah.
But she did also bridge pop and R&B and hip hop.
She did.
At a time when other people weren't doing that.
If you want to talk about representation of eras, you don't need Mariah and Whitney in there. And so I could see where you kind of go, maybe Mariah slips to 12.
I would put Whitney above Mariah, again, like with Prince and James Brown, just for the simple fact that if there's no Whitney, there's no Mariah.
Okay.
Mariah carried her talent. She would have been successful. But I think Whitney opened a door for Mariah. And then both of them did that for people like Christina Aguilera and Beyonce and everyone who's come after them, certainly. But then I think, do I put Diana Ross, jump her from 29 up to the top 10? Just because...
No, I wouldn't.
Because she's not a singer like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not a performer like that exactly. But she's Diana Ross. And again, there's no Diana Ross. There's nobody that comes after
Right.
her.
There's some names that just carry enough weight that you think that should put them through. I get your point. Listen, this is the game that I've been playing.
Oh, it's so hard.
It is.
Luther's definitely top 20.
And that's the game, is to try and get, because everybody, this is all subjective, right? And this list, Billboard's list, is their staff. But sit around at a dinner table, you got 6 or 7 people there. Try to come up with a top 5. You could even do top 10 if you want. That's a little bit easier. To come up with a top 5 in any genre. Say, all right, tonight we're all going to figure out, we're going to agree, we're going to debate on this, and we are going to come to a top 5 best R&B voices.
But then what if you lose a friend over that?
Sometimes it gets heated. But everybody can make, usually, if you do it top 5, which is how I usually do it, everybody, you can agree on 2, maybe 3, that everyone's like, yes, definitely they're in. And then those last 2, it's like you're just scratching at it. It's like, no. Let me tell you why. I did it at a restaurant once, and we tried to get the waiter to like solve the. We're like, no. Well, listen, we just have 1 slot left. Who do we put in? I think we were doing best female rock voices.
Ooh.
And
like 3 or 4 just popped in my head when you said that.
And I think we did top 10, and we got like 8, and we were just trying to get the last 2. And then server was actually a woman. She came over and she threw in another name. She's like, "What about Ann Wilson?" We're like, "Oh my God!"
You didn't have Ann Wilson? That was Ann Wilson, Pat Benatar, Janis Joplin. Those just immediately pop.
I think it was somebody. Maybe it was Ann Wilson. Maybe it was someone else. But it was like a name we had, and I'm like, "Oh great! Now we got to start this whole thing all over again." But it's a fun game. You can do it top 5 or top 10. Just gets, you got to do it with people who really care about music, though.
Yeah, because really there's no wrong answer.
Yeah, there is no wrong answer, and the fun in it is people defending their position, and maybe you come around, and maybe you don't, and maybe you lose a friend or 2, but that's all right.
Well, maybe that's what Billboard should have done, is they instead of a top 75, they do a top 10, and there's just a 74-way tie for number 10. Or 64-way, I guess.
Yeah, it's
except you would put Beyonce at number 11, no matter what.
You had to. Why do you? We're not going to end on that, Eric. We're not going to end on. We're not going to end on dissing me and trying to open me up to the beehive. I just got to say, I was off for a few days last week because I went to a great event that I highly encourage. The city of Milwaukee puts on Summerfest every year. They've been doing it for I think 50 something years.
So how many have you been to? All 50?
Shut up, Eric. First time I've been, and I went primarily to see Gary Clark Jr., who was everything I thought he would be. I'd seen him once before live, but I saw him, like, I was 10 feet away from the stage, and wow, this man. And I got to know him as a blues guitarist, but he's dipped into the R&B in some of his songs, and just so smooth as a guitarist. Incredible vocalist also. So Gary Clark was great. It's a mix of, they do it for 3 weeks, 3 weekends in a row, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and it's a different headliner every time. It's only like, I think $30 to get in.
That's
and you
crazy.
see all of these acts, just like the 2 days I was there. Def Leppard, Grand Funk Railroad, Genuine.
He was not on this list.
Paul Young, there's an old going
From the
way
80s?
back. Foghat was celebrating 50 years of Slow Ride.
Right.
A new act I'd
And now it really is a slow ride when they come out on stage.
Yeah. Two new acts that I didn't know a lot about but really liked. Zynadelphia, the
Don't know
woman
that. Okay.
from, I think she's from Philadelphia, and the record company. It's like they're kind of like the Black Keys.
Okay.
They reminded me of the Black Keys. And Hosier, who was, wow. Wow, I was blown away. I mean, obviously I know his radio hits.
Yeah.
But his audience was, I haven't been to a Taylor Swift show, but his audience, his fans were like singing along with every song through the entire concert. And
His fans love him. That's why he hasn't had a ton of big crossover hits, but he's always been able to tour, and his albums have always done well because he keeps that fan base. They love him.
I saw people literally in tears. He, at one point toward the end of the show, he walks out through the crowd and walked right behind me, and the look on this woman's face when she actually stuck her hand out and he touched it and she turned around like, oh my God. It was really cool to see. And he was an incredibly charismatic performer. So
I'll have to go next year, which
Really
you
enjoy it.
can't because we can't both be off. So.
yeah, we can. Summerfest. So there's 2 more weekends to go of it. And they kind of like do more sort of country acts one weekend, more younger acts. This weekend skewed toward older acts, which is why I was there. But we had a great time.
That's smart to
I
change
had-
up the headliners. Coachella should think about that.
Yes. Shout out to my Wisconsin Connects. My girlfriend Jill lives in Wisconsin, so she's the one who told me about Summerfest, and it was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for us this week. Have your healthy debates about any top 10,
Just make sure Beyonce's in it.
or she could be just outside of it. That's fine.
We're not
too.
even in the top 20, really.
I didn't say that. We will see you next time on Get to the Hook.